Okay, so I start the recording. Just gonna capture everything on the desktop. All right, so for this hour, we're gonna venture into hour B. We're gonna take a look at loop-on functions, which we had a look at this in Python. So let's review how function look like in Python. In Python, we call it definitions. So it's kind of DEF, and then the name of the function. And then inside you can describe what you want to do when this function is called. So in this case, it's asking Bob to shift right. If I want to do something in JavaScript, of course, this is doing a different thing. The keywords function, so you're going to have the keywords function rather than def, followed by the name of the function, followed by the bracket of the input. It's the same, just different way of writing it. In Python, you're going to start with this colon, and then you're going to shift things in. In JavaScript, we're going to use a setup bracket, starting and end, and then all the code is going to be in between, okay? In JavaScript, it doesn't matter if you actually tap them in or not, but this will make it easier for you to read. But in Python, if you don't tap it in, it doesn't work. Functions have inputs, so you can do that with Python. You can have the bracket. If the bracket is sitting empty, then it doesn't have any input. If the bracket has some variable name in there, then you can give the function a value so that when it runs, it could draw maybe different size of shapes and whatnot. So we're gonna look into that. I think I gave you an example on the first one where you got something like draw a grid and with the different side length. So we're gonna make use of that as well. This time around, you're gonna create your own functions to make all this drawing. So you're gonna create new buttons for pentagon, letter A, mountain, dog, and rainbow. So those would be new functions that you'll be creating. And it's gonna be using the functions that you make. Okay. I'll create an example here. Say, for instance, I'm gonna do something that is maybe not in here. I will create maybe some kind of circle. Let me start with this sample code. So I do have sample code for circle. Unfortunately, there is no built-in function for circle, so we do have to make one ourselves. Okay, so I'm gonna start from here. Function circle, I'm gonna call it circle size, and then I'm gonna use for loop for I starting at 0. As long as I is less than 18, every time I iterate it, I increase by 1. So this is your for loop, and I'm gonna go forward, circle size, double click and paste just to avoid a mistake. And after that, I'm gonna turn left 20. So notice that this should draw me a circle where it's repeating 20 times every time I go forward distance and then turn left 20. 20 times 18, that's 360. So this should make me a circle. So I have not linked the circle into with a button yet. I will create a button for it. Just gonna go. I'm just gonna call this circle. I'm gonna call it circle 1, and then when I click on it, I'm gonna call the circle function. What did I call it? It's just called circle, and it needs a size. Okay. It's gonna say circle and then size 20. Say, for instance. All right, so let's try that. If I were to refresh this, I have a circle button, and it does a circle for me. Okay. Now, I could run this circle function with a different size, say 30, then it's gonna draw a larger circle. I can 50, then it's gonna draw a larger circle. So notice how this goes. It's going to turn left. If you want the circle to be more smooth, all you have to do is make it repeat more times. So I can call this 36 times, and every time I just turn 10. If this multiplied to 360, then it's fine. There's gonna be a circle, right? And that's gonna be much smoother of a circle because it does less turn and more times. So each of this straight line is shorter and therefore looks like a smoother of a circle. And of course you can have it. So notice that the same circle that I have. Oh, that erase all isn't working, but I can go clear. And that clear show grid is the method to reset everything. Oh, I could have said show grid 50 to get to what I had before. Okay. I'm gonna do something different than the circle. But first of all, let me show you how to work on this drop button, because with this, the user is going to interact with the button, correct? Now, what if I want circle with 5 different sizes? I don't want to create 5 different buttons. I just want to have a drop down that has different numbers. Okay, then I could change this number, and then I would have different size circle. So how do I do that? The code for it is in here. So I'll screenshot this. I think this is not in there. So I will screenshot and paste to here. This is for the drop down. This is for the drop down, right? So in this case, this is gonna create me a drop down. What's important to notice is, oh, I don't really need this ID, right? So I'll screenshot again. It doesn't make sense to have 2 different IDs. All right, so this is the structure in HTML to create drop-down. You can have as many options as you wanted to. So inside in between the option tag is what it shows up. Inside the quotation is its value. So that's kind of different. All right, so if I have this 4 different options within a select ID a size, then I would have that showing up in here. So I have size and I have different value to select from. Okay. Now the question is, how do I use this value in the function? I'm gonna try to link the 2 for you, so watch closely. Okay. So this option, this select has an ID. Okay. So if I were to go here and then type in the ID, I call it a size. If I just hit that, enter, that a size is referring to the entire tag. But if I want to know which value am I selecting, then you just have to go a size, that value, and that's gonna output you the current selected value. So this is important, right? So if I select to 40 and I run this again, it's gonna say, hey, I currently have 40 selected. Okay. So with this, I could then say, when I draw a circle, please use a size dot value for it, and I would like to turn it into number. So I think it's cast as int a size dot value. I think just timing by 1 is going to change it to, there we go. Okay, so that is the easy way to do it. So I just go a times by 1. That's going to force this from a string type to a number type, and therefore that circle, it's going to receive a value that is from the selection box, selection drop down. So let's try it, see if it works. So change this to 20, draw a circle, change this to 10, draw a circle. Notice how the drop down is affecting the size of the circle. Okay. So with that in there, I'll do one more variation for you. So rather than a circle, what if I have this repeat 18 times? It's gonna draw me a half circle. And if I want this to turn into some shape, let me see, it's gonna go 10 times, then this should give me a curve. It's gonna give me a curve. And if I want to draw some fancy shape here, imagine like explosion of some sort, like firework. So what I want to do is to have it come back to the same point of a circle without drawing. I think it's called pen up. And 10, this will be another 36. 36, 26 is going to bring me back to its location. And if I go 10 down, and I were to copy this again, and instead of turn left, I'm going to say turn right. Okay, and hopefully I get what I was thinking. Okay, so I have something like that. I don't know how we would call this, but it can create some sort of curve. So in this case, I'm actually drawing two circles, but I'm only drawing part of it. Come back to the center, draw the other part of the circle, turn in right, come back, right? So with that, you should be able to come up with different shapes. It's asking you to come up with a shape of a dog, triangle, letter A, mountain, so on and so forth. So see what you can do with this. Okay, I'll stop the recording. What do we have here? Stop the recording.